to the Family First Life Solidity team call. It's every Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern time. So tune in. We typically have a guest speaker on, and today we have probably one of my favorite people in the company on with us today, Mike Pfeil with FFL Allegiance. Seeing Mike Pfeil kind of grow, I guess, throughout Family First Life, not only is he a beast producer, but he is an incredible trainer, helps agents get started really fast. And throughout this past year, I've seen his organization just grow past $1 million a month. So Mike, thanks for being on with us today. How are you doing? You're muted.
There we go. I'm doing awesome. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being on. I appreciate it. So just to kind of hit the call off, I know I just gave a brief introduction, but if you don't mind telling a little bit about yourself, kind of your background, what got you into Family First Life, and kind of what it looks like for you now.
Yeah, absolutely. I have kind of a unique story, probably a lot different than probably most people at my level in the company. You know, I was here with FFL back in 2000 and I think it was end of 14. And I ended up leaving. I quit the company back in 2018. I thought the grass was greener on the other side. I was given an opportunity with another IMO and went over there. I was over there for about a year. Now, it didn't take long once I went over there to realize that the things that I was being offered, the things that I was told about better leads, just a better opportunity, better place to be able to grow, wasn't true at all. So, you know, in 2019, in the summer of 19, Sean Mike called me and I answered and he said, "How are things going over there?" I said, "Sean, things are going terrible." When I left the company in 2018, back then having an agency, you know, the largest agency back then was probably doing like $1 million, $1.5 million a month. My group was doing 200,000. And when I quit, I left with 30 of my agents, my team at that time. And so when Sean called me in 2019, I said, "Things are going terrible. The team that I had is gone. I'm not making any money. Just things are absolutely terrible." And he said, "You know, would you like to talk?" I said, "I will be up there tomorrow." So I jumped on an airplane the next day, flew up and met with Sean. And it's crazy. We see all these things and people, a lot of people ask me, like, is he really that way? Is he really this nice guy that he portrays to be? And you know what? Me leaving with a team doing 200,000 and leaving with all those agents, I walked into his office and he had his arms out and he said, "Mike, I welcome you back with open arms." He gave me a hug and he said, "Where's the team?" I said, they're gone. A lot of them are going to stay. You know, things just didn't work out. So I ended up coming back in October of 2019 by myself. It was definitely much harder to come back and admit that I made a mistake than it was to actually leave. So in October 2019, came back alone. I was in pretty deep financial trouble when I came back to the company. You know, my mortgage was behind, my bills weren't paid. I mean, my cell phone bill was getting turned off every other week. And it was a pretty bad spot. Came back and no longer obviously had my leads and had to start back from scratch. So I came back. I ended up going to a meeting in Philadelphia. I knew how amazing FFL was. I knew what the opportunity was here. And I took like 28 people with me to a meeting in Philadelphia, in Pennsylvania. I think you might have been there, Marisa, maybe. But
I think I was there. My first meeting.
Yeah, I had like 3 rows of people there. And that was kind of the people that I had there. My core group is still here that went with me to that original meeting. None of them were licensed. None of them had experience. But with those people I had, I ended up developing another core group of people. And then within 90 days, me and 6 people hit vice president with the company. So in January of 20, we were able to do 150,000 in production. And back then we did it all. It was no direct mail, no mortgage. It was all final expense through Facebook is how we were able to do it. And, you know, that was January. And I think by the end of the year, we were at $500,000 in production, to where 23 months after I originally came back to the company, so September of 21, so 23 months later, we had 180 agents and we did $1.1 million in just 23 months. And I say that because if it were me, obviously I could have done the same thing at the other company, but it really is just a testament to how amazing this company is, the incredible training that we have here, the culture of the company. It really is what family first life is, you know. So to be able to come back and do something like that in just, you know, under 2 years is just kind of lets people know that yes, this opportunity is amazing. It is real, and I'm here to show people that yeah, you can definitely do it, and this is the place to make it happen. So that's a little bit about who I am, how long I've been here, and what I've been doing. So
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that, Mike. And you know, you definitely have a different story, so to say. But I respect the heck out of you for being able to leave and then being able to actually come back, right? Because and say like, hey, you know, I made a mistake, right? Or hey, I'm better off here. And being able to restart your team. And the fact that you brought, you know, that those 28 agents to that meeting just speaks volumes about getting people in the room so they can actually understand this opportunity and what they have their hands on truly. um, Building an organization back up, like you said, and at that time, that 500,000, that was a really big deal, right? In 23 months, like, let's go. And I don't think you say that to brag on yourself. I think you say that like, hey, like, if I came, I left, I came back, I had to restart myself again, like, you can do it too. You just have to want to do it, right?
absolutely.
So, Mike, you know, seeing you kind of bringing agents in and getting them started, it seems like you get them started pretty fast and kind of efficiently. What does it look like when you bring a new agent in to get them started fast? Or how do you know when an agent might not be getting started fast?
I'm a real big fan of when people are coming in. I just kind of give people, um, you know, small steps along the way and just see if they will follow it. I mean, step one is like, if we have a weekly meeting, will people at least get on the meeting? You know, if they get on that meeting, then you know, here's a batch of leads. You know, see if they will dial the leads. So many people when they come in here, you give them a stack of leads, but then they want to know everything else. You know, what do you say in the home? uh, you know, what are the products? I'm like, first step one is, can you dial these leads and set these appointments? The people that will do those steps, I let them know that every step that we go through and each thing that they need to know along the way, I'll be there and teach them that. But it's really just giving people things, what they need to move forward one step at a time without overwhelming people. So like back then, I knew that very, very fast, you know, very, very quickly, we had to build a team and we had to get things up and running. So my biggest thing is I was out there running right along with them. There was that stretch of time when I came back, you know, we were working 7 days a week, and it was something that was nonstop. So I think in the beginning, like when people are getting started, I let people know it's going to be a lot more work in the beginning, but it does get easier over time. And really, it's giving people small steps, letting them know what we're trying to do, letting them know what's possible, and being right there with them. I think also too is building that culture where we're known. Like when we came back to Frank's group, you know, everyone within that group said these guys are the group of guys that work really, really hard. And I think establishing that in the beginning is the most important thing. So I always talk to people, ask them what their goals are, let them know what I'm here to do. And I don't, if they don't want what I want, that's okay. But I believe in just giving people just enough that they need to do, and giving them one step at a time to be able to make this happen.
Absolutely. I love that. And that way you're able to kind of follow with them, like lead, guide, direct, truly, right? Like, hey,
Absolutely.
do this. They do it. You're back with them. They do it. And now you're coaching them and you're plugging them into everything they need to know. Like you said, when you're dialing the phone, you don't need to know what to say in the home, and you don't need to know what, you know, CFG's term product does, right? You just got to book the appointments.
That is
So
correct.
love it. And Mike, I feel like your mindset's, you know, always been on point. I love how you talked about kind of being the hardest working people. And I think that that's something that, you know, we talk about how anyone can do this because they can, but you have to work really hard, right? It doesn't come easy. How do you think your mindset's attributed to like the growth you've seen, not only within yourself, but within your whole entire team?
In the beginning, I haven't always been this way. It's hard, you know, when, and it seems like everyone that comes in here, most I know most people that come in here that I meet with, like they're broke usually, and they've come from a bad situation, and the money, you know, they have problems with money. I was out training an agent this weekend, and I let her know. I said, I'm going to tell you that you can't think about the money. I said, but believe me, I understand how hard it is. I said, I haven't always thought this way. I said, there were so many times in the beginning, even, you know, back in 19 when I came back, where every single day I said I was going to quit. I said I couldn't do it. And I said, I was always listening to books in my car. I was listening to podcasts. I mean, my Audible on my phone has like hundreds of books on it. And I said, every single day I had to listen to something that is positive, because when you're in a bad financial spot, it's hard. I mean, for me, I'm not like Sean and Frank is really good at it too. They're the kind of people, it doesn't matter what's going on. They never get rattled by anything, but that's not me. Like, I'm not normally the type of person that can't worry about those things. I am like the worst worrier that you can think of. And I get into some crazy stuff. I'm like, if I have a bad day, then all of a sudden I say, I had a bad day. I'm going to have a bad week. This is going to be a terrible month. Oh my God, I'm going to be homeless. And like, really all that happened was I had one no-show, right? And somehow 5 minutes later, it's like, I'm homeless, I'm living on the street, and life is never going to get better. And I am the worst at that. And the only way that I was able to change was listening to books every single day. I never watch television. And if I have any free time or I'm driving around in my car, I'm always listening or watching a YouTube video and trying to just change the way that I think. And it's taken a long time to get better at it. Like, things still pop up, but I've just realized that by putting so much positivity into my mind, cutting out negative people and speaking to people that are positive, that I've learned to better handle those types of negative situations rather than letting them completely run away with me. The other thing I changed too was, as much as we hear Sean talking about like waking up in the morning, I make sure that I'm up early. I work out. I go to the gym, you know, at least 5 times a week. And I had to do all those things to get better, because I think in this business, there are ups and downs, and I had to personally learn how to think differently, not feed into the negativity, because it's so easy to do. To where even when agents call me, like back then, the people that were with me, they said, we can't believe that you were going through all the things that you went through, because we called you every day and we were dumping on you how terrible our day was, how bad things were. And they said, we never knew how bad of a spot you were in. I said, I had to work on that and change and get different. You know, I had to change the way that I thought each and every day. So by letting them know, when they called in to me, and I had to say, you can't think that way. You got to be positive. Listen to this book, listen to this audio. I had to teach them how they can't let those negative thoughts and negative situations impact them. It's like the hardest thing to do. I don't think it's normal to do. And it was something that I had to do, and I currently do each and every day. So mindset in this business is everything. Like when I was training this weekend, I told the new agent, I said, the way you think and the way you handle the difficult situations that you're going to go into, it's going to completely control your outlook on this business. And I said, if you can't get your thinking under control, you're going to fail, because what we do here, none of it's physical, it's all mental. And you have to be able to push beyond those bad days. They're going to happen. I said, if you were in the field with me and you watch how many bad days that I had, how many times that I bought leads and it didn't work out, how many homes that I walked into and didn't sell, I said, you would be floored. I said, you see all these things, you come into the office. I go, but all this didn't just happen. I said, it just took a lot of hard work, and I had to constantly work on myself each and every day. And I said, if you don't do that, you're not going to make it. So it's very, very important to be able to change the way that we think, to be able to be successful in this business.
Absolutely. And I think that that's huge, because I think that sometimes people will come in, and even if they come in their first month, they're crushing it, you know, and they've never, you know, made 20,000 or 30,000 or whatever it may be in a month. You know, they don't really know how to deal with, you know, when they have a month that they're not having a good week, not having a good day, like you said, where the mind starts spiraling from I had a bad 5 minutes to I have a bad day, I'm gonna have a bad week. This means I'm gonna have a bad month. Can I do this? Am I even capable? And really positivity is the only thing that's gonna kind of string that out. I know for me, like Frank and Jamie helped me a lot with my own mindset.
Mhm.
You know, but one of the books that I actually reread, per, Jamie's request was Change Your Thinking, Change Your Life.
Mhm.
And it just hits on everything that basically you just hit on, Mike. Like, it doesn't matter how good you are, it matters how good you are up here. Because you can be
That's right.
great at everything else, but if your mindset's off, it's going to make this business 1,000 times more difficult than it needs to be. So books, rolling university, and just committed to ongoing self-growth, right?
Mhm.
Whether that's waking up early, whatever it might be, being in a good regimen and routine. And that alone helps our business, right?
Absolutely.
So that makes a lot of sense to me, Mike. And I hope that everyone's taking notes on that. It's like if you're on this call and you've ever had a quote unquote bad day, which is pretty much everybody on this call, like pick up a book, ask for a book, like what book should I read? Everyone's a little bit different, but I mean, Change Your Thinking, Change Your Life by Brian Tracy is a pretty good place to start. And then just to kind of move right along, Mike, what are some non-negotiables like that you're always looking for in an agent because you know that you had to do these things to be able to get where you are now?
It's following a schedule, whether they're dialing and running 2 days or they're doing like a dial a day, run a day, whatever that schedule is. They have to stick to it. And the other thing is they have to be here at 7:30 in the morning. There's all these little things that I know that in the past I always thought were not important. Something as simple as getting in and on the phone by 7:30 in the morning, it changes everything. Like the majority of the people that come into our office, they'll have their appointments booked between 7:30 and 11. We call that like the golden hour, and it really changes everything. So when an agent comes in or they're dialing from home, the first thing I'll say is, what time did you get on the phone? They say, well, I got in at 9 o'clock. I'll say, well, the majority of us had like 7 appointments booked before 9 o'clock. So kind of one of the non-negotiables, you have to have a schedule. And if you're going to dial, you got to be in and on the phone by 7:30. And a lot of times when people ask, what is the best time to dial? I know the answer that most people give is any time is a good time, but it's not true. It's like 7:30 in the morning to 11 is everything. And I would always run errands and do all those things, go to the dry cleaners, get a haircut, do all that stuff between like 12 and 5:30. And then if my appointments are booked, then I'd get back on the phone at like 5:30 and then dial until 9 o'clock. So the people that come in and think that they're doing something, they'll get on the phone at 11 and then they dial until 6 and they say they had a terrible dial day. I'm like, you completely missed like when we book our appointments. So that is definitely one of the non-negotiables is getting on the phone at 7:30 and dialing, and do whatever you want between 12 and 5, but you got to be back on the phone at 5:30 and hit your number. It has to be whatever your goal is. You have to have your appointment set for the next day, and I think that's more important than anything. It doesn't really matter what leads you're buying, because as long as you're on the phone at 7:30, you're dialing that phone. Like if you're trying to book 10 to 12 appointments for that following day, you can definitely do it, but it just matters when you get on the phone. So I can tell very, very quickly if someone is serious. When I say we're going to be at the office at 7, we're going to have our leads printed, we're going to be on the phone by 7:30. If I see them strolling in at 8, 8:30, 9 o'clock, I know they're not real serious. So very, very quickly I can tell what they want. Now it doesn't mean that I completely write them off. I just know they're not as serious right now. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer for people to realize what we're doing. They may think that they can do it without listening to everything that we tell them to do. But I let them know that it's all those little things. It's the smallest things that we do that you think don't matter. And all of those things added together mean everything. Getting on the phone at 7:30, keeping your mind right, booking up an entire day of appointments, and like things little like triple dialing our leads. It's all the little things that we do that add up to you going out in the field and having success.
Absolutely, and that's huge. Like just committed to a schedule, and like you said, that's 7:30 to 11 o'clock hours. Like that's when you're if you're making or breaking the next day or two, right? It's like
Absolutely.
if I'm not booked up pretty good by 11, I'm kind of panicking a little bit, right?
Absolutely.
And then like you said, kind of that break and then hopping back on the phones. And I love how you said that 5:30 to 9 o'clock. It's like, Mike, if you don't have your appointments, are you scared to pick the phone up and call Nancy at 8:45 at night? No,
Yeah,
no, right?
absolutely.
You're
You
like,
have to do it.
exactly. You're like, I have to do it. I don't have my appointments, and it's before 9, right? So just making small non-negotiables and like thinking about what are some things that all of us on this call have to change. It doesn't have to be this landslide, like Mike's saying. It can be a little tiny thing that you're changing. And then Mike, you're really active on social media, and it seems like your whole group is. How much of it, like a positive impact, has that made for you and your business? And do you kind of talk to your agents about doing that as well? And I guess why?
We talk to them. I have a social media manager, and we let people know that people are watching you every day. I think over the last probably 2 months, I've had like 3 people that have come into the business just because they said they watched social media. It's like people are watching what you're doing. They're watching if you're going to stick to what the last thing that you got into. So by posting all the time, it definitely attracts people to the business. So when people are out there and looking and watching what you're doing, yeah, and we explain to people too, like if you want to grow and you want to hire your warm market, rather than going out there and actively like pestering your friends and family to join your business, just post out there, show them the success. And it doesn't have to be your success. Post the success that the group is having, that the people around you are having. And even if it's not you, it will attract people into the business. I hired 3 in the last 2 months, but there's been a lot of other people in the group where people have just come in just from watching what is going on social media. So it's something that we talk about all the time. We let everyone in the group know that go out, like the posts that everyone in the group is posting, comment on those posts, share those posts onto your page, and it will help the overall group. I mean, if we all help each other grow, then we all grow together. So we very much talk about it. We're very intentional about it. And we let everyone know that if you're trying to build a business, go out there and share what you're doing. Don't be secret. Don't be a secret agent. Show people and showcase the success of the people that are around you, because it will attract those people into the business and they'll want to be part of it.
Yeah, and that's so huge, because I see you guys posting like crazy, and I like will be just scrolling because I'm posting, and I'm like, Mike, and and Dad, and everybody's always posting, sharing, liking, commenting, and it builds in that algorithm, right? It's like you come up on my feed because of a couple of reasons, because I always will like your stuff, share your stuff, but also because you have your whole team liking, sharing one another's stuff, so it builds team camaraderie. And real quick, just question kind of off that, Mike, do you have anybody in your group writing over, 100 grand as a team that doesn't use social media?
No.
Okay. So like basically anyone who's building a real business here is posting. They're not scared to share this opportunity with people. Because like you said, we're not over here, begging our best friend and our, and our aunt and uncle to work here. We're just showcasing this is what we do. And if you want to be a part of it, reach out, right?
Absolutely.
Yep, and you're weird if you do it once, but if you do it every day, you're not weird. So don't be weird. Awesome.
That's true.
And then to the agents on this call who are maybe like newly licensed or new to Family First Life, just coming in, maybe just made a change. What's a piece of advice that you would give them to implement, today or now?
It's make that decision to go all in, and that means different things to different people. But for me, like when I look at it, I say I'm like completely plugged in, right? Like I've completely drank the Kool-Aid. Like I'm like in the barrel, like swimming around in it. I believe so much in this company that I'm plugged into everything. And when people do come on board, I actually plug everyone into all the different groups just to show that this company is so much bigger than just our small group. Like I plug them in, I make sure they're plugged into the AMS. I make sure they're plugged into the West Coast group, that they're plugged into Northwest, that they're plugged into Mark Mead's group. I want everyone to see how, the entire company, to see how many people are having success. And I'm also encouraging and recommending, we have a call and I tell them, you should be on the Friday TNL. I let them know they should be on the agency call. They should be on the Thursday call. And I say all of that is being plugged in. I also say you should be involved in Slack, commenting, sharing, congratulating other people, because it feels good when your teammates recognize what you're out there doing. So they should be also inside of the Facebook group and congratulating people and encouraging people. When people come aboard and we do like a welcome post, welcome those people to the team, make them feel like they're part of something. And we say, just like when you have someone who comes in and they're brand new, you want everyone else in the group welcoming those people in the team. You want those people to feel like they're part of something. So welcome them to the group, encourage them, and just comment and share and talk to those people. So, we let people know that they need to do that each and every day, because they would want that to happen for their group as well.
Awesome. I love that. So you're really big on just plugging into essentially the trainings, the training calls, but also cross-line communication, right? Like, it's not just, it's not just this, like these 5 people you have access to, you have access to the whole team. And then on top of it, you have access to the whole company, which is amazing.
That is correct.
And I love what you said about Slack, just like, we want people to welcome our new agents and say, hello, and welcome them to the team. Just be a team player, right? Like, welcome, Anna, congratulations on your first sale, whatever it might be, or just like the post, or welcome to the team, or you see somebody's doing something good and, just, hey, it seems like you crushed it this week. That's team camaraderie, and that's being able to humble yourself enough to, if you didn't have your best week and, Mike did, being able to comment, hey, Mike, you had a great week, killing it, right? Like, let's all humble ourselves and be good teammates to one another enough that we're able to have cross-line communication. Because what I will say, kind of just real quickly, being in other companies before Family First Life, is everything was a secret. It was like, you wanted to know what this group was doing, what that group was doing, and it was a secret. It was like, oh, no one wants to tell you, or we'll tell you once it's finished, or maybe we'll never tell you, right? And here at Family First Life, like, no one holds back. Like, Mike isn't on this call like, oh, I'm going to hold back my nearest and dearest secrets. He's like, whatever I can spill right now, I'm going to spill to help this organization. So thank you for that, Mike. But that makes a lot of sense. And before you guys hit that $1 million a month mark and issue paid business as a team, what do you think changed your business or helped your team to kind of navigate there?
What changed everything is when other people started hiring staff. It was the first thing that I did. I came back to the company, didn't have any money or anything, but I hired an admin immediately. The admin not only took care of like my personal business, they also handled my contracting. They also did my recruiting, and they were doing social media posts. So it was like one admin did the job of 4 people, where now I have 4 staff, but those are like 4 distinct jobs, and it was handled by one person. Everything began to change when I talked to people about the importance of hiring staff. So as soon as everyone else started hiring those staff, that's when the business began to change. It was up until the beginning of 21. So I went a whole year and I was the only one with staff. So we're sitting here with over 100 people in the team. I had 2 staff members, but then all of a sudden each team, they started bringing on 1 staff, 2 staff. When everyone started hiring their own staff and treating it like their business, that's when things really began to change. And that started happening at the beginning of 21. So that changed everything. And if we wouldn't have had that, like, the group wouldn't have started growing. So we're like now the second largest group on my team, they're doing $250,000. They're actually moving out of the office. They're getting their own office. They have 2 staff. And, at that point now, I know that they're going to grow, because now they're taking on their own responsibilities. They're really taking responsibility for their entire team, and they have their staff members. So doing things like that, when people start going through those progressions, when they go out, they get staff, they get an office, when they start doing those things on their own, that enables a team to grow. So until that happens, like, we would stay stagnant. So that's when things begin to change, when they start hiring their own staff.
Awesome. I love that. And I think it's huge, because sometimes people look at staff and they're like, oh, well, I'm not really sure what they can do, right? Like on, their first month or 2. And it's like, well, first, there's a lot they can do. But I like what you said, Mike, coming in, you knew you had to have that staff member. They're doing the job of 4 different people, and then being able to help other people who actually want to grow a real business here say, hey, this is why you need staff. Mm-hmm. Like, not because I don't want to help you, but because there's only so many of us that can handle so much, right?
That's right.
Um, and when we get to a point, it's like it has to blow up that way in order to for it to make sense for everybody, because the workload can't be on that one staff member that you had in the beginning, right, Mike?
Yeah, and there's always work to do. And I told her every day, I said, when you're done handling my clients, because there would be like a weekend, I would go out, I'd write like 16 policies in a weekend. And back then, some stuff was still paper and it was busy. But I said, when you're doing that and you're not contracting anyone or you're not doing posting anything on social media, then pick up and start calling people, start start recruiting people. Like I said, every day you leave, your job is never done. Like you could be here all night, because when you think you're finished, you're not, because you can start recruiting. So it's never done. So having that person to do those things, there's always plenty of work to do. There's never enough hours in the day. We're always working.
Absolutely, so true. And sometimes one day I heard somebody say, like, you can be the hardest working person, but if there's only one of you, you only have 24 hours, right?
That's
So
right.
meaning if you want to work 24 hours a day, that's great, but you're going to need staff, because the person that's one person in staff, they're still going to outwork you, even if you work
Absolutely.
all 24 hours. So awesome. Makes a lot of sense to me, Mike. And then what were some of the struggles or adversity that you faced helping your team kind of see the bigger picture, and not just, for what's in it for Mike, but what's in it for the whole team, right?
Everyone goes through the same exact struggles. So some of the adversity, and we all hit the same thing, um, going out and I think spending money and not making money, and just kind of convincing them that we all go through the same thing. And if they just continue and don't quit, things will get better. They will get better. So a lot of times we're talking to people, that we believe in them more than they believe in themselves. So I think that is the biggest struggle of all, is just letting them know that what they're going through is normal. And if they just keep going forward, that things will get better. It's hard sometimes when people don't have the money, but I show people, I say, hey, if you don't have the money to buy leads, you can work older leads. Like if because it does work. I've done it before. I've dialed leads that were 4 and 5 years old, and letting people know that you can get out of the financial situation you're in as long as you work and you don't quit. So just showing people and explaining to people that whatever they're going through, like I've been through all of it at each and every level. Like everyone goes through the same thing. Like literally every single question I've called my upline, I've called Frank and asked for help for. Some of the groups now, they're getting to that size, and they'll call me and I'll laugh. I'll say, I remember exactly when I went through the same thing. So I think having that ability to explain and let them know you went through it and you're still here, really that's what it is. So getting people to understand what they're going through is normal, and if they don't quit, it will get better.
I think there's a lot of power in, like, the last couple of things you just said. It's like it keeps going back to, if you just keep working and you don't quit, if you just keep working and you don't quit. And like you're saying, Mike, even where we are now, it's like there's so many different struggles or adversities that are faced, but at the same time, it's like the people who've stepped before me are looking back and they're like, okay, this is what you want to do, this is what you don't want to do.
Mhm.
And being able to have those people, and then being able to know, like, okay, Mike Pfeil went through this. This is what he did. He didn't quit. He didn't give up. Look where he is now. And it wasn't like, Mike, it took like 5 years for this to happen. Like it's fast, it's quick, and it's crazy. So it's about just being persistent, consistent. Don't give up. Don't quit. You have to just keep pushing forward.
Absolutely.
And then just a couple of quick questions to wrap the call up with. Right now, I know you mentioned you have that one staff member, but how many staff members do you have? And what are their roles and goals for the most part?
I have 4 staff members right now. I have a full-time recruiter. I have a full-time contracting person. I have a full-time social media person, and then I have a full-time assistant that not only assists me, but if contracting gets behind, she will jump in and assist her. If the recruiter, if we get a bunch of leads in and she can't call them throughout the day, she'll call. She can deal with that person. So right now, I have 4 full-time staff, and they take care of everything. Like in December, I was out for like I was out for 11 days with COVID. And there's no better feeling. Like I was at home, I couldn't even get out of bed for like 8 days. But no one knew that I wasn't working because there was constantly posts on social media because the social media person was working. The recruiting was continuing to take place, and all the new agents that were coming in were continuing to get contracted. And I was like in bed on my phone. And when I got back, I remember it was January and I was talking to someone. I was like, yeah, I was sick too. I was out for 11 days. And they were like, you weren't working? I was like, no, man, I was like in bed for 11 days. But the business kept flowing, like deposits continued to come. People still continued to work. If someone had a question, they would call my phone and I would answer. But being able, I told my wife too, I said, it's a blessing to be able to have a business like this to where like I'm home in bed, can't get out of bed for 11 days. And most of the people didn't know I wasn't working. Everyone thought I was still, at the office and things were happening. But having those staff members in place where they could handle everything that needed to be handled, it really changes everything. And I told her, I said, it was just 2 months ago. I said, can you believe like where we were just 2 years ago? I was like, it's crazy now that I'm home for 11 days straight and for things to continue to go. So when you have the right staff and you have people in place that can take care of the things that you need, that's when you know that you have a business.
Gonna say what a blessing. And as I say, and that's really is when you know that you have a true business, right? Like it's gonna run whether you show up or you don't, because you have the right people in place and the right players, and they're playing too. I love that. Okay, beautiful.